been published yet, so a few chapters and stuff for various books and things. There's still some stuff out there, but no, I don't know what I'm doing next. I don't know if that is you asking whether there's a Marple book.
Yeah, that was my question.
I don't know is the answer to that. These are complicated books. They require all of the pieces to be in the right position at the right time for it to happen. I think that Poirot's centenary has been extremely helpful to getting this book to where it is. Whether I can sort of hang a new book around Miss Marple at the moment, I don't know. I think it's a chat that will be had at some point with various other parties, but it's a big old decision, so I'm going to have to wait and see, I think.
I can't even imagine the research hours that went into this book.
But what fun!
What fun. Yeah, I mean, how privileged was I to be allowed to look at some of this stuff, all of this stuff, and how lucky. Got to really wait for the stars to align, because you've got to be in a position where I've got the time to do it, where the publisher's interested in doing it, where the family archive is happy to grant access, and where Agatha Christie Limited says, okay, this is a sort of book that we think might be helpful, because there's no guarantee of any of those things happening. I was lucky. But yeah, God, it was so much fun to go through it and to find loads of things, because relatively little of this stuff was sort of brand new. Most of the stuff that had not been seen by people before was the stuff from the last sort of 50 years or so. The earlier stuff has been seen by biographers and people before. But because this isn't a biography, because it's a sort of behind-the-scenes story, stuff that you might not included in a biography had a really good home here. So things like discussions about what she wanted to write next, and discussions about why she might find certain stories difficult at certain times and what her influences are. Those things that aren't necessarily going to be needed in biography have got a really good home in this sort of book that is about, the sort of background to, in this case, Poirot. So there's still a lot out there. I haven't done enough research to be starting on any other book at the moment, but I know where the bodies are buried, shall I say. So I know where to exhume a good bit of evidence for anything that I want to do next. But I'm certainly not done with Agatha Christie. There will be more.
Well, definitely keep us posted when that happens, because we're big fans of yours now.
Thank you.
Speaking of that, can you give our listeners your website so they can find you in your books?
Yeah, it's markaldridge.info. And you can also follow me on Twitter at Dr. Mark Aldridge, where I share a lot of my stuff as well. markaldridge.info. I'm not brilliant at updating it, but I'm all right. So every sort of 6 weeks or so, I'll put something up to say what's coming up. It's often talks and things like that I'm doing, even if I'm not publishing anything at any particular time.
Well, Mark, thank you so much, first of all, for writing this book, because it was so enjoyable. I spent not just hours reading it, but time looking at all the pictures and the things in her own handwriting and the diagrams she drew. I was just enraptured. But thank you so much for taking time to speak with us today and giving us your thoughts.
Thank you for asking me on. It's always a treat to chat about Poirot. I haven't run out of things to say yet.
Mark, enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This book I will consider my go-to book for anything related to Hercule Poirot. He did such a wonderful job of putting in each one of those stories that Poirot is in, but no spoilers. He describes the book. He tells you the basic storyline. The additional stuff that he has is wonderful.
Yes, I really enjoyed hearing Christie's impression of each book. It was interesting also to see how her feelings changed about the books as she aged.
Well, I particularly enjoyed all the tidbits of what you said about Agatha Christie and her feelings and such, but these were references that were not even included in her autobiography. How he got a hold of these, I guess, through her family in the archive, that's the kind of thing that I was really into, to find out what was really behind the scenes that no one knew about.
Well, I actually read this as an actual book. I heard that the audiobook is very enjoyable. I would definitely recommend the actual book, because there are so many images in the book you would not get I found it so fascinating that in Death in the Air, there was actual diagram of trying to figure out where the seats were in the plane, who would be sitting in what seat, how that would impact the murder. And you could see her mind at work just in that one diagram.
I think she did that for another one, too, on a train. I would think as a writer, you would need something like that, something visual to keep track of people as you're writing.
Right.
And it was also interesting to see the different book covers for the different countries or the different publication dates, how those would change. And I just found those fascinating because sometimes they dealt right with the book, but then sometimes they made them a little more edgier. And I guess it depended on the audience.
When I was younger, I owned all but 2 of the Agatha Christie books that were ever printed. That was my quest as a 20-year-old, that I was going to have every book.
Well, when you were 20, there were a lot more books written after that.
I know, but as they came out, I bought them. I had boxes of her books, and I'm sorry, I don't have them any longer. Mark could do a complete book. And here's a suggestion, Mark. Do one on just red herrings.
Yeah, that's true.
She was the queen of sending you in the wrong direction. And I think that's how I got to start reading as a puzzle, because I wanted to figure out her solutions when I was reading her books. Half the time I was wrong because she sent me in a whole different direction.
I just felt that Mark really nailed it when it came to just giving us facts about Poirot that I never even thought of.
Well, he's an absolute font of information. Of course, you knew that as he was writing his book, he did a lot of research and that he has a great love of the subject. But just interviewing with him, wow, you can really pick his brain, and he knows all the backstories. He really just knows his subject.
I could have actually talked to him all day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
For our listeners, there are quite a few YouTube videos where he discusses other parts of the book and his writing process, and you can just look up Mark Aldridge on YouTube, and those videos will come up.
Before we started recording, I asked Mark how old he was because he looks fairly young.
He looks like a little kid.
Actually, he's the same age as my son. Teddy.
Yes, you could be his mother. I could be his grandmother. Kathy could be his aunt.
But anyway,
we'll adopt him.
For somebody who's 38, it's still amazing to me that he's that enamored with Christie.
Yeah, I would have thought it would be somebody much older. She's just been around forever.
Well, that just speaks to her talent and her longevity. I don't think she's going away anytime soon.
No. And I hope she doesn't. There's been a few adaptations that I could have probably done without, like the newest Murder on the Orient Express. I was not a fan.
That was not the best adaptation of that book. You have to do it every 20 years or so.
But Amazon actually has created quite a few, like the ABC Murders. They're very well done, and I enjoyed those very much. I'm very lucky in the fact that my husband really likes these also. So I have a partner in crime when it comes to watching them, and he's read them. And so I enjoy discussing his impressions of Poirot.
This is a must-have reference volume for any Christie fan.
Definitely. It's published by HarperCollins. It's at your local bookstore. Be sure and check it out.
When people send us books to review, I only have so much space for so many books, and this is one that will be kept.
We thank Mark for talking with us all the way from England. I hope you check out this book. It's a highly recommended one. It's long, but you can read it in short pieces. It's very well worth the read.
Well, I hope you really enjoyed our conversation with Mark. He was such a delight. We saw no reason to cut any of this apart. We wanted you to get all of it, so that's why it's a two-parter. It's a must for any Agatha Christie fan.
Amen. It is well worth reading. It's just a wealth of knowledge.
I feel like a kindred spirit with Mark because we are huge fans also. That's why we just wanted this conversation to go on forever.
Yes, we did. Thank him for taking time to talk with us. We hope you check out the book. Trivia. Last week's question was, which best-selling mystery author began her career as a reporter editing TV listings? A. Sharon McCrum, B. Vicki Delaney, C. Patricia Cornwell, or D. Joan Hess? The answer is C. Patricia Cornwell. In 1979, Cornwell began working as a reporter for the Charlotte Observer, initially editing TV listings, then moving on to features, and finally becoming a reporter covering crime in 1980. This week's question is, which mystery author is a graduate of Trinity College in Dublin? A. Tana French, B. Elizabeth George, C. Louise Penny, or D. Nora Roberts? Good luck.
And please remember to check out our website at darkstormybc.com.
You can sign up for our newsletter. You can check out all our previous episodes. You check out our Patreon page. You can
submit a short story
to our email, and that is darkandstormybookclub@gmail.com.
You can email us anything you want. We love to hear from our fans.
And remember,
life would be boring without a little mystery. Bye.
Bye.